This is a video about the American War for Independence. It won't be the first and it won't be the last, but I want to clarify that it's a video about the American War for Independence. There was no real American Revolution. The idea of a revolution is a complete overhaul and destruction of everything that existed before in favor of something new, fresh, and different. This was not and never was really the goal of the American War for Independence. Americans in general did not fight for ideals of democracy, equality, and whatever other enlightened ideals that people falsely equate the American fighters to. Americans fought for tradition. They fought so that they could live the exact same way they had lived for a century and a half. Before the war, the American states basically were independent. If the war ended and the Founding Fathers decided that America would run with a monarch whose only job was to defend us from foreign adversaries through the military, while letting the states do whatever they wanted, most Americans would have been fine with that. Notice how the Articles of Confederation passed much more easily than the Constitution. The Founding Fathers constantly referred to themselves as Englishmen. In other words, the American War for Independence was not about revolting against everything that had existed before. It was about keeping what had already existed in the American colonies exactly the same way that they had been. If you look at the history of the 13 colonies, you will see that this is the case. From the founding of Jamestown up until calls for independence, America had pretty much the same thing going on. But then eventually the British started getting onto them with taxes, and that was when the United States, or that is when the American colonies decided that they needed to be independent. So it would be false historically to describe the American War for Independence as a revolution in the sense that the French or Russian Revolution were revolutions. The French Revolution wanted to completely destroy the monarchy, the aristocracy, the church, everything that had existed in France before the French Revolution. And the same goes for the Russian Revolution with the communists and Bolshevik uprising. They wanted to destroy the landowners, the aristocrats, the Tsar, the Russian Orthodox Church. They wanted to wipe it away, wipe it off the map, and they wanted to create a new Russia. The American colonies, they didn't want to create a new country necessarily. They just wanted to keep the nation that had existed before, which was basically just a second England that was governed less than the mainland England. So they wanted to keep what had been going on for centuries, or a century and a half, as I said earlier. But yeah, so that was all I wanted to say today. These are not new ideas. What I'm saying, these are not new ideas. I remember reading about this in From Dawn to Decadence by Jacques Barzun, which is a great book. I enjoyed it a lot. But this is not a new idea. You can read there's a lot of books out there on America and and on the history of America and on the history of the colonists that you can read, and in the Founding Fathers as well, which all talk about this. So this is not a new idea, but it's just something I wanted to talk about today, and I wanted to restate some points that millions of other people have said before. But anyway, that's all. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.